Hi guys. Um it's been a while since I have talked to you about personal and serious topics and I feel a bit weird recording that. Also, first off, I want to apologize for my voice. I am sick. My nose is stuffy and my throat is a bit uneasy and I'm tired. I'm pretty convinced I have um got the coronavirus at work. So I've been isolated at home for about a week. I am just out of this quite terrible fever that lasted for about 4 days. Now I don't have any taste nor smell anymore, but I'm feeling better, so that's good. So yeah, I just wanted to apologize for my voice if it cracks or if I have to cough or anything like this. So, as you probably could tell by the title, we're going to talk about mental health and we're going to talk about depression um, because I have not really addressed this online. Actually, I haven't addressed it online at all. I have kind of hinted at the fact that I did do suffer from depression, but I did not go into details, and that's not really something I plan on doing in French anyway, so I don't even know what I'm ready or comfortable with sharing with you now that I'm recording this, but we'll see. And I feel like I want to share this with you because I do not recognize myself with most of the content that's about mental health that's online. Occasionally, I will, you know, find or fall upon a video that's very what would be the good words, that feels genuine, that feels honest, that doesn't feel dramatic or over exaggerated or even portrayed or acted kind of for views and reactions and engagement or all of that. I feel like a lot of the content that I see that's about mental health is coming from places that I don't recognize myself with. Sometimes I feel like people are, you know, acting as though they have mental health issues, or maybe the way they express themselves just doesn't sit well with me, or maybe they romanticize it a lot, and I don't like that. Um, and I know the importance of content that speaks to us, because if you're anything like me, I didn't want to talk about my depression to anybody that I knew in real life. I talked about it to a very good friend of mine, a close friend of mine, and recently to another good friend of mine, but that's it. Didn't talk about it to my other friends. I didn't talk about it to my family. My family eventually knew about it, but just because I didn't have a choice, they discovered that I was taking some medicine, and that's how they knew. I'm talking about my mom and my sister here, but I didn't want to tell them, and I kept it a secret kind of from them for most of the time. Yet I kind of wanted to talk about it to someone. I didn't want to talk about it with people that I knew in real life because I didn't want to worry them, because I didn't want to scare them, because I didn't want them to change the way they see me, because I didn't want to have explained myself. And at the same time, I didn't feel like keeping this for myself, especially because I was not seeing a therapist at that time. I was regularly seeing my doctor, who was so nice and understanding and so good, really, but it definitely was not like having a therapist that you see daily, not daily, that you see weekly or maybe, I don't know, twice a month, and that you can talk with or talk to. So I felt like I wanted to talk about that. I felt like I wanted to hear people talk about experiences that I could relate to, feelings that I could relate to, or maybe even situations that were different, but still that could inspire me or make me feel less alone, less isolated, that would offer me new perspectives, and perhaps also hear people who got better or people who are trying to find a way to live with depression and live with anxiety, live with these two mental health conditions. And I'm hoping that perhaps the what I'm recording right now is going to be that for you in a way. So in case you're kind of new or you don't really remember that, which would be completely fine, I was diagnosed with anxiety when I was, I think, 20 or 19. And I saw a therapist for 5 years, weekly, then monthly. I had severe anxiety at the beginning. I could not really leave the house. I had to stop university because of that. Um, and thanks to therapy, I got better. Eventually, kind of got my life back. And at that time, I was offered twice to be on medication, which I refused because I've always been pretty adverse to medication, which I am still. But, you know, I just think that very often doctors and psychologists or psychiatrists tend to offer medication too easily and too quickly to patients. I don't think they're inherently bad, but I think they're too often prescribed to people who don't really need that or would benefit from another type of therapy. So I refused to take medication and I got better, even though I still had anxiety. It was manageable and I could live a normal life. And then there was something that maybe most people would have lived completely differently, but for me, apparently, kind of was traumatizing. And I gradually, I think, fell into a very deep depression, which didn't really seem to be at the time. I think I was kind of half aware of that, but at the same time, what's really insidious about mental health, and I would say about depression in particular for me, is that it creeps so slowly and patiently into your life that it becomes normal. You get accustomed to it, and then get used to it. You don't recognize it, you don't notice it anymore, and it's too late, kind of. You have fallen into it without realizing it, which is why I would highly suggest that if you're someone who suffers from mental health, you keep a journal. Because recently I went back into my old journal from 3 years ago, which is when I started really falling into this very long, actually, and serious depressive episode. And I realized, reading the different entries for different days, that, it was very obvious that things were not fine. And there is a long period of time, which equals to about a year and a half, where I did not journal at all. That's when my depression was the worst. And I really regret that, because I would love to have that as proof and document and experience to rely on for the future. So that's something I would highly suggest. Document how you feel, because in the moment, that's when you're real. A couple of hours or a couple of days later, when you feel a bit better, your brain is going to normalize and try to normalize or minimize what you just went through. At least that's how it is for me. So I can't even rely on my own brain or my own spirit, my own mind. I have to put it down. I have to write it somewhere so that I have the proof. That's how I felt. That was very real. I am not exaggerating things. So that's the first thing I would like to say. And so I have a very high functioning depression, which means that I do my work. I am pretty good at hiding it from other people, I would say. And it just shows when I'm alone. Of course, it shows, I think, every time. I mean, at any given time. If you know me really well, you will notice that I'm different, that I'm not doing very well. But because it had been going on for a few years, because it had been so insidious and so progressive, and because I am high functioning, I think all of that made it really difficult for people, or even for myself included, to really take the measure of like of what was happening, you know. So being high functioning and given all those things that I just mentioned, it took a while for me to finally hit a point where I had to admit that I needed help. Of course, I was kind of aware that I needed help. In the course of those 3 years, there were numerous moments where I told myself I needed to go back to see a therapist, where I booked appointments, cancelled them, because I was either scared, because I was either unable to go out, which I will talk about in just a moment, or because I was trying to rationalize and minimize unconsciously what I was going through. And I felt like I was exaggerating, overthinking things, and self-pitying myself, which was just not true, of course, but I've noticed that it's something my mind does all the time. So I just want to touch on this going out. When I was suffering from anxiety, a huge part of it was also going out for classes, going out to do grocery shopping, going out to see people. And at the time, it was diagnosed as social anxiety. Now that I think back and now that I know where I am, where I stand, I am more inclined to say that it is probably a sort of agoraphobia. I do struggle, even to this day, with going out. And leaving my house has become very, very difficult. It's become a huge challenge, even if that makes no sense, even if that's absolutely ridiculous, objectively speaking. I know it is, but I struggle with going out. And it might be a surprise for people because if you know me, you know I love traveling, and I have kept traveling. I've even traveled solo, and I think it is perhaps the last thing that I am able to do, but with great difficulty. And people don't see that. People only see the pictures you post. People only see the videos you post. And when you're happy and sharing with them the beautiful sights, the beautiful landscapes and whatever, but they don't see the flights that you cancel or that you can't cancel because you can't be refunded with flights most of the time, and that you just lose because you don't go. They don't see the excuses you make when you can't be somewhere, you can't go somewhere. They don't see the medication you have to take in order to fall asleep for 3 or 4 days before the date of departure. They don't see how you cry. They don't see how you have to go to the toilets before leaving the house because suddenly, well, you're just so anxious that your stomach is, you have to go to the bathroom. They don't see all of that. They don't see the night anxiety or the morning that lasts so long, before you can actually go out when you're actually abroad and traveling solo. All of that people don't see, and that's fine. They don't have to see it, but I would just really appreciate not having any comments on, oh, you say you're having anxiety or agoraphobia or depression, but you've been traveling. Yes, I have been traveling because that's like the only time now in my life almost when I feel alive, when I feel slightly normal, when I feel proud of myself for being able to do things, when I feel things even. But it's difficult. And so yeah, I have yet to see a therapist, unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure that I have a form of agoraphobia right now. And all I can say is that, of course, we take this for granted. We don't think twice about being able to go out, about being able to just go for a walk, um, or even do your grocery shopping or go to the post office or whatever. And when you are confronted with the fact that for some people it's actually difficult, that it require a process, efforts, help, it's also difficult. Honestly, it's one of the most difficult things. And it's been this way for me for years now. And it has impacted my health, physical and mental, in so many ways. And I I don't want to record that and sound utterly depressed, because I'm not, nor do I want to receive pity or anything. That's not what this is about. It's about perhaps education for people who have no idea what it feels like, or people who don't know anyone's like that, or people who do know someone's like that, but they are not well informed. It is for people to feel less lonely and feel like they can relate. Um, but it's in no way to receive pity. So hopefully you can keep that in mind. Um, so yeah, I was feeling very bad. My agoraphobia was really high, and job, job wise, my job, I love my job as a teacher, but my job is, being a teacher is exhausting, and it's very emotionally and psychologically demanding. And when you have anxiety and when you have depression, it's definitely not the best job. So I think in a way it helped me because it pushed me to the edge. And in September last year, so September 2019, I felt really, really, really bad. I was crying every morning. I was crying before going to work. I was crying in front of my school when arriving to work because I just didn't feel like being there. I missed my hometown. I felt lonely. I was crying all the time, basically. I was sleeping all the time, and it was just disastrous, honestly. And also I was you know I wasn't able to sleep at night. I would sleep during the day. It was just such a chaotic state. And of course, I was missing a lot of work, a lot of days, sorry, from work. So I would continuously go to the doctor and have to, ask for days off. And eventually, the doctor told me that I was suffering from depression, probably. And we took tests and we talked, and I saw two psychiatrists, and yeah, they diagnosed me as having a severe depression. And it's strange, because I knew it. I knew it. And perhaps even stranger, I would say I've always known that I would be depressed, and it's definitely not the first time in my life. It's definitely not. But it's one thing to know it for yourself in silence, in the silence of your own mind, and have someone that belongs to the medicine world tell you you are depressed. It's very different. And I cried, and when they told me that I would seriously need to think about medication, I cried even more. And I knew that I needed the medication. To put it simply, I knew I needed the medication. I knew that it couldn't go on like this, and that I could not do it by myself anymore, and that I could not even rely on therapy alone, like going every week to see a psychologist. I knew that this time I needed some chemistry help, let's just say. And so in December, I started taking medication. I started taking antidepressants, and I was also on anxiety disorder medication. Anxiety, I don't know how to say that in English. I saw a huge improvement. First of all, in my sleep pattern, I was able to sleep so well. I would go to bed and fall asleep immediately, which to me is just wonderful because I struggle with falling asleep. I wake up several times a night. I have nightmares almost, I don't want to say every night, but almost every night. I grind my teeth, I move around. I mean, it's just a very bad sleep. I have a very light sleep too. Every noise will wake me up. But with the medication, oh my God, sleeping was good. I was also very focused on work only. I didn't have all those thoughts that were kind of like wrestling in my mind and worrying. I was constantly worried about not doing much, not doing enough, not working towards my goals. All of that disappeared with the medication. In a way, I don't feel like it. mm, Uh, I don't want to say that it was like being more calm, but it kind of felt like that. It felt like a few things in my life were put to sleep. But I didn't feel sleepy or foggy or anything like this myself, if that makes any sense, right? I took the medication for 8 months and I suddenly decided to stop for a few reasons. First of all, because I felt like I was slowly becoming more and more distant um, in different areas of my life. I also felt like I didn't really know how I felt anymore or who I was really. I felt disconnected from a part of me, I guess. I also took a lot of medicine as a whole, and I didn't like that for my own body. I also gained weight. Uh, quite a lot of weight was gained, but it's not only the medication. Maybe it's not even the medication itself, but Um, and I also didn't want to rely on that forever. I didn't want to get used to it too much. I didn't want that at all. So I stopped at the end of August. And so now it's been about a month and a half without medication. And I've been doing good. Of course, I'm still, suffering from different things, of course. The main one being agoraphobia. Unfortunately, I can't say that agoraphobia has gotten any better. I can't say that I can go out and enjoy my day out as I used to. I'm working on that, but I'm really struggling with that. So, if anyone has a similar experience and feels like sharing that in the comments, I would really appreciate it because that's what I'm struggling the most with at the moment. But I don't feel the sadness that I used to feel. I don't feel the tiredness or the fatigue that I used to feel. I don't feel the sense of being worthless and pointless that I used to feel. I don't cry like I used to cry. I love going to work. I have a lot more energy. I feel like I'm more upbeat. I'm more in tune with my emotions. And I do like that. Of course, there are moments when it's definitely not the case. And the first month after medication, off medication, was definitely strange. I felt like I was a bit high, a bit hyper rather than high. And that was definitely a bit weird. And it definitely, okay, something I want to say is that it has, slowed down a little bit. I don't feel as much as hyper as I used to feel, but I still do feel like that sometimes. And I have to navigate those moments when I feel really hyper and those moments when it's kind of going down and I'm a bit more, I don't want to say I'm depressed, but it's like I know that most people have those ups and downs, but I would say they're within a range that's manageable. For me, I feel like the range is way wider and it's therefore a lot more work for me to process things and manage things and control things. And at first I was like, okay, maybe that's just because I'm off medication and that's the reaction to stopping medication. And then I wondered, but is it that, or is it just the way I am? Is it who I am? And I realized that I did not even remember how it felt to be me without being depressed, because I had been depressed for 3 years, and that's a long time actually. And that really changes your perception of time, your memory. And looking back, I can't really remember who I was when I was not feeling some sort of depression, whether it was a minor episode or a more severe episode. So I feel right now like I'm trying to know myself, to get to know myself again. And it's definitely not the best time to do that with the coronavirus, with everything that's happening in the world, and with the agoraphobia, which is a huge obstacle for me. But yeah, that also explains, I think, why I have stopped posting videos, um, why it's still not regular and not like it used to be, even on my Instagram, actually. It's not that I don't want to be back online, it's just that it's impossible for me at the moment to have a schedule. It's impossible for me at the moment to be both doing my job as a teacher and what I do online with a schedule, with deadlines, with rules. It's too much for me. And also, I feel like putting myself out there, it's a lot. Putting my face out there is a lot. So I am trying to come back, and I really want to come back. I really want to be back, but it is, I have to say, I have to be honest. I do want to be back, but I find it incredibly difficult. Even right now, I'm recording this on my phone. I am in my bed, on my bed, um, and I procrastinated the whole day because I didn't feel like not explaining, but I didn't feel like expressing myself. I didn't feel like putting certain parts of myself out there. I feel like I've put so much of myself out there since 2009, maybe. That's when I started making videos, I think. um it's a long time. It is a long time. And when you, at least for me now, with everything that I've been through, it's exhausting, and it feels like it's emptying your soul or your being slowly but surely. And therefore it's now even more difficult to have this activity of putting myself out there, because it feels like too much of myself is out there and there's nothing left within myself for myself. You know what I mean? But I really want to be back, so I'm trying my best. And videos are too difficult for me right now, so I am trying those podcast thingies. Hopefully that's not annoying for you. Um, So yeah, I'm trying my best, so that's why you will see vlogs, you will see videos, probably you will see pictures on my Instagram when I'm happy and traveling, because of course, f luckily, I have those days, I have those moments. I am working so that I can live and experience those moments. I'm working on myself for that, you know what I mean? And I also want to share positivity with you, but it's not just because I'm posting those moments and because I have those moments doesn't mean, and I want this to be very clear, doesn't mean that either what I'm saying in this podcast is fake or those moments of joy are fake. Um, I really want to emphasize that I have depression. I think I will live with depression forever. I think it's part of me. I am out of a severe episode that lasted for a couple of years, and it's impacted me, of course. That's pretty logical, I would say. But it doesn't mean that my life is gloomy all the time, and doesn't mean neither, that just because I'm out of the episode, everything is wonderful and great and easy. So yeah, I am going to stop now because it's half an hour long and it's extremely long. Thank you for listening till the end. If you have, I really appreciate it. I hope that this was useful or helpful or interesting in a way or another for you. I hope that you are in a good place. I hope that you have the help that you need if you're not in a good place. I hope to talk to you soon. Um, and I want to thank you for your ongoing support and benevolence. It's been incredible and it's definitely helped me and it still helps me to this day. So thank you very much for that. And I will talk to you later, guys. Bye.